Good morning. Welcome to Womb Magic. You are here with Mandee, Elam. We're having a little bit of Mercury retrograde technical difficulties right now, but Heidi should be joining us shortly. And I'm just really excited to be here and hold space with you all. There's a lot of different energy going on. There's a lot of transition happening between these two eclipses of now, and I've noticed with myself and with other clients it's a time for not only rest and reflection but radical change, and there's an opportunity to really recalibrate and listen in to what it is our hearts are calling for most. And I think our beautiful co-host Heidi is here with us now too. Hi Heidi.
Good morning. How's it going today?
Going well, other than, usual Mercury retrograde stuff. I kept hitting add Heidi, and it wasn't doing it. So.
Oh, my gosh.
So here she is. And I just introduced our show and let our listeners know that there's a lot of crazy energy going on with Mercury retrograde, and these two eclipses we're in between right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of activity happening for sure. So it's a good time to be in the womb space and talking about, I think, really getting more perspective and just allowing yourself to slow down and breathe and know that it's all going to be okay regardless. And just sometimes, I feel like you have to laugh these things off because I was about to start freaking out because I didn't see the Skype call, but I was like, you know what, I'm just going to sit here and breathe and meditate and hold this beautiful energy, and it's all going to work out. And that's right when it went through.
It never fails, right?
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Well, I was taking a minute before our show, and I'm going to ask our listeners, if you tune in, whether it's today or later, I was asking for a prayer request because one of my best friends, her husband's having brain surgery today. He's been suffering with brain cancer for a while now and has a new tumor, and so I've just been wrapping a whole lot of love and light around there. So if you're listening to this show, if you could send a few moments of energy and time and healing light to my friend Kyle, I'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, Heidi, what's rising in you today?
Well, I don't know. I'm just pretty chill today. I'm excited to talk about whatever rises for us. I will say I have I have many exciting things to share, but the one that's rising right now is I got these awesome candles from our friend Coral Newberry.
Oh, cool.
You know her, right?
I do. I haven't been able to connect with her or talk to her much myself, but we're in several groups together, and we have a lot of mutual friends, and I'm familiar with her amazing energy. So that sounds wonderful.
Yes. Okay. So she is an amazing artist, and she was creating these candles, and I saw them because I love to buy candles. I don't know. I have so many candles around the house, and I always go to the grocery store, and anytime I'm there, I'm like, ooh, I need another candle, and I just make it happen.
Don't judge yourself. It's just your ancient inner witch coming out. It's okay.
Yes, no room is appropriate without 1,000 candles. So anyways, I saw she was creating candles, and I love supporting sisters doing their thing. And so it's these awesome, those types of candles that have the different deities and stuff on them. They're skinny and tall and kind of votive-esque. I don't know. Anyways, they usually have a painted picture on the outside, and she has these painted pictures of Mary Magdalene that are her artwork. And so she wrapped the copy of the painting around the candle, and I got one white candle with the skull of Mary Magdalene, and then one which is really fun and witchy, and then the other one is a red candle with this really beautiful painting of Mary Magdalene. And so I'm still I need to get more information about the the skull of Mary Magdalene, because I think that'll be a story to share here. But in alignment with divine feminine and stepping into your Mary Magdalene power and all of that beautiful stuff. I know we're all of Mary Magdalene here. And so yesterday morning I took a bath, and I usually don't take baths, especially in the morning, but I was like, you know what, I want to take a bath for whatever reason. And I turned off all the lights and I lit all these candles. I had the Mary Magdalene one closest to me. And like halfway through the bath, I decided to do a ritual, and I rebaptized myself and kind of like it just kind of intuitively came out. Wasn't seeking this experience; it just wanted to happen. And so I baptized myself into kind of reinitiated myself into the Order of the Mary Magdalene. Allowed the water to kind of absorb anything that I no longer needed. And it was a really beautiful experience of just honoring my womb space and honoring my divine feminine, and allowing myself to just really enjoy and hold that sacred space with myself and let it be as beautiful as it wanted to be. And so I did that, and I found that, a lot of us grew up in Christianity. And I remember I was baptized when I was 11, and some people have a good experience. Some people were sprinkled when they were babies or whatever. But I was 11, so I remembered it, and it was not what I wanted to do. And it didn't feel, it felt like a spectacle. It didn't feel like sacred. And I like smaller ceremonies often. Like the more intimate it is, the more sacred it feels to me. And that's just my own personal thing. But I remember how weird it was. It was like there was a speaker system, and I was in a big sanctuary with hundreds of people, and the old preacher man baptized me, and it was like warm bath water, and I was fully clothed with this white robe on. And it was just a very strange experience where I was like watching myself have the experience, and I wasn't fully in it, and I felt dirty afterwards for whatever reason. And it felt like it wasn't in alignment with my truth. But when you're 11, like, how do you verbalize that? So yeah, I felt like that story was healed, and I just added another piece of I integrated another piece of my divine feminine power, and my womb space feels like nourished after doing that. So energetically. So I think that was a fun little experience for the week.
I think that's beautiful and amazing and incredible. And thank you for sharing that experience here on our platform. There's so many things I want to say about that. First of all, the candles. That sounds incredible. Does Coral sell those online, or was that a special gift? Is that something we can maybe give her a little plug and direct some of our listeners to?
Yes, she's selling them, I know, through her Facebook site. So I would just connect with her, direct messenger her on Facebook, Coral Scarlet Newberry. And they're just magic because she put so much intention into it. And it just reminds me of the creative intentions that we have are our medicine. And when we combine pure intention of another with our own intention, it's only magnified in power. So yeah, and I believe they're $12 to $20 or so right now. So definitely snag one up if you can. They're magic.
Oh, fantastic. The next part I wanted to talk about was, I think it was absolutely beautiful that you were able to just intuitively rebaptize yourself and follow spirit and allow that to happen. I think a lot of times around ritual and ceremony, people often forget that we have all that power within ourselves. And yes, it's nice to hold space with others and have formal ceremonies and things like that. But our higher selves and our intuition often guide us and lead us to exactly what we need when we need it. And so the way you shared that experience with us was a perfect example of that. You just allowed it to come through you and move through you and tell you what to do. And then look at how amazing you felt after.
Spirit's amazing.
Spirit is amazing. Is there anything you can share with our listeners about how to maybe follow that or tune in a little when you're feeling those stirrings to start following spirit to do something like what you just experienced?
Yeah, the totality of the experience was 20 minutes, but time stretches and stops when you're in alignment with your intuition. So it felt like I was in there for an hour. But I set a timer. And I didn't know why I set a timer, but sometimes I get distracted, or I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just sitting here, especially if it's in the bath. So just like know you're human and know yourself, and do what works for you. But I set a timer for myself so I wouldn't like consistently look at the clock, and just like let my body rest, and meditate, do whatever. And what's funny is I felt like after the ritual ended, intuitively, I was just like, okay, and we're done. And I stepped out of the bath, and literally my first foot hit the floor, and the timer went off.
Oh, wow. See? That's your
Yeah,
higher self. Your spirit guide's watching out for you.
seriously. So, create some time and space. Don't have expectations. I would just set an intention to connect in, to give yourself some self-care, self-love, call upon your ancestors, guides, angels, higher self, and just allow yourself to be in that energy. And if something happens, awesome. If nothing happens, you'll probably still feel really good. And that's all that's needed, really. Just taking the time to tune in, and allow yourself to sort of take a step back and allow your soul to nourish your body.
Mm, yes. Oh, I love that. Oh, grateful for you. I haven't shared this with Heidi, but I'm going to, and we'll talk more after the show, Heidi. But I have had some experiences this week really tuning into my intuition and listening to my senses. I've been struggling a little bit in my relationship, and nothing too crazy or too bad or anything, but I've been feeling the call and the urge to maybe say, maybe this isn't serving me anymore. Maybe I'm ready to take a step and take some space and see what that looks like and feels like. And it kind of initiated last Tuesday with the eclipse, the solar eclipse that we had, and the new moon. And I started feeling a lot of energy kind of in my higher heart, lower throat, just like this stagnant energy. But at the same time, it became really dense and then almost like shaky or magnetic or kind of on fire in a way. And then the same thing started happening with my sacral chakra a few days later. And I had some plans coming up with my partner and some things going on. And I was like, I just don't want to do that. And I don't want to move forward with that. And I don't want to be a part of that. And I was starting to wrestle with things like guilt and shame and, oh, well, there was already plane tickets bought and this person might be disappointed if we don't go. And all of these things. And I just kept realizing that I was making decisions based around what other people might think or feel and not decisions based on what I want most or what my body is starting to tell me. Another thing, when you're a Magdalene especially, but any sort of, more tuned in, awakened being, your higher self and your intuition will let you know that something needs to change, when it's time to. And sometimes it doesn't make sense to the logical mind. Sometimes you simply have to follow your heart and understand what's going on. So I listened to this, I wrestled with these feelings in my sacral chakra and in my, yeah, I got to say, it's not totally my heart or my throat. It was more my higher heart and my lower throat. And I just kept listening to this energy. And when I finally spoke my truth, I spoke my truth on like Monday night, I felt a lot better. And I was still there a little bit Tuesday in my sacral. And I spoke my truth even more and got some things lined up and some ducks in a row and canceled some plans and shifted my energies and my timelines, and all of that pain, all of that energy, all of that uncomfortableness just transmuted into peace. And I felt really good the past couple of days just being able to follow my intuition, to speak my truth, to honor what my soul wants most right now without worrying about anybody else's actions or reactions or feelings in the situations. I always try to handle everything, out of as much love and respect as possible. And, I really held that integrally when I had these conversations this week. And I feel just tremendous. And it's very much in line with the Gypsy Magdalene spirit. Often Magdalens know that they have to leave a place at a certain time, but they're not sure why. And it doesn't make sense logically, but they just know. And then they act on it. And this has happened for me many times in my life. And it was another one of those. So I knew that energy when it showed up. And it was that divine feminine, rocking me into where I need to be placed next. So thank you, Heidi, because I wanted to share all of that, and the story that you shared was a perfect segue into it.
Beautiful. Of course, so aligned. You're amazing. That's beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah, it feels good. It feels amazing. It feels, when you make a decision for things that you want, and it's hard to sometimes take space from relationships. We all try our best. We always don't, nobody wants to fail, and it's not, for me, it's not considered a failure. I consider every time I spend in relationships a time of growth and discovery and reinvention and, self inventory, because you really learn the most about yourself when you're in relationships, I think, and outside. But if you allow yourself, you can learn a lot about your own self when you're in a relationship. What's triggering me? What needs do I want to have met that aren't met? Is this something that, I should be giving my time and energy to? Is this something that I'm spending way too much time thinking about and it's not serving me or my partner? I think relationships have a really nice opportunity to learn and grow. We're so quick to be part of this whole, societal, I don't know, influence of, oh my gosh, you're going to meet the love of your life one day and fall in love and get married and everything's going to be perfect. And it's just not how it works. And, the divine feminine and the divine masculine are equally trying to heal and grow. And there's a lot of space that I hold for our men because I feel like they haven't had as much opportunity to look into their feelings or deal with their feelings or be seen or be heard, whereas women, we're just starting to, and we're a little bit ahead of the men in the aspect of it's okay for a woman to say, I need to go, take some meditation time or go see a therapist or go do this. Whereas men, it's a little harder still for them to say that. And so I just hold so much space for everyone. And I think relationships, whether you're, continuing it or you're taking space from it, try to always see the good things in it and how much you've grown and how much maybe your partner's grown, or the things that it's opened up for an opportunity to heal. I say this on the Alchemy Sisters and here on Move Magic with Heidi. Triggers are simply opportunities to heal. If something's triggering you physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, it means it's time to look into that and see what it's there for and what it's there to teach you, what it's there to maybe release, what it's there to maybe let you know needs attention. It can be either way, and it's important to tune in and pay attention to that. And no matter how awakened you get, no matter how conscious you become, no matter how wonderful you are at controlling your actions and your reactions, you're still simply a human and you're still simply on a soul journey here. And you're going to be triggered your entire life with different things because according to what's rising in you or what's falling away in you or where you're at in your soul's ascension. And so even though I'm taking space for my partner here in the near future, I'm grateful for all the time that I spent with him. I'm grateful for the things that I've learned and how I've grown. And I'm also, grateful for this new chapter of being able to tune back in with myself again and take some space from the relationship space.
That That's amazing. You're so cool. I'm like, that's so eloquent how Mercury retrograde of me. Yeah, that feels really good. And I think that as you were talking, I was feeling something I was talking to my partner about earlier this week, which is I truly feel like the key to bliss and the key to feeling abundant in life and feeling free in all experiences is non-attachment. And it can be so hard, and it's definitely a practice to learn. But if we let go of our expectations and we just allow ourselves to be in every experience, regardless of how it ends or where it lands, and we can give that back to the universe, we're free to really be in our experience and have the most joy and be able to identify when things aren't working out and we need to transition. So I just honor you and thank you for sharing that. You share that with so much grace and dignity and self-love, and it's not easy to make these types of decisions, and you're doing it with just so much love for yourself and honor for your experience, and I think that's so beautiful. And yeah, like earlier this week, Mandee, I think I told you about this a little bit, that I was just sitting in the weird energy of Mercury retrograde. And it, for me, apparently, I was talking to Jen Edwards, our amazing astrology friend, and she was telling me that, like, I think in my natal chart, Mercury is retrograde. And so for me, it does the opposite of what it does for most people, and that I get more communicative rather than not. It may not be perfect communication, but it just all comes out, whether I want to or not. And so I've noticed with my partner, I was like all of a sudden having interesting thoughts like, what if I never want to get married, or what if I never want to have kids, or what if. And it was just, I was kind of enjoying how weird my energy felt, because I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, I don't have definite ideas around this. It seems to be shifting. And a lot of it is about, where you potentially take a relationship and how it grows and blah, blah, blah. And he was just so unattached to everything I was saying. He was like, cool, I don't know, like, whatever. Like, I'm happy with you now, and that's all we need to know. And I think that's so beautiful, because those types of conversations do come up, and they can be so triggering for people if you are attached to a certain outcome. But if you can release your expectations and just allow yourself to be, there's a lot of magic there.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. Unattachment is unconditional love, and my utopian society in the future, and, bringing in aspects of ancient Lemuria and other incredible motherlands, that's what I'd like to see, for the generations that come far after us. I'd like to see them be able to feel like they have a sense of community, and they can just go from one place to another and be held in unconditional love without any attachments. Say a kid's 18 and doesn't want to go to school. Maybe that won't even be, a force in the future. Who knows? But, I'd like to be able to see that child leave their community and their village and go somewhere else and learn and be held by elders there and other people there and find love. And so, as opposed to now, if you set out on a journey, there's a lot of fears around it. And are you going to be safe? Are you going to be, if you're a woman traveling across the world, like, are you going to be taken and sold into sex slavery? There's so many hardships and fears still, that it makes sense for attachment to still exist in some ways. But the whole concept of trying to kind of love yourself unconditionally and not attached to, people, places, situations, or expectations only help us to grow and free ourselves. I really got to learn that a lot when I read the Celestine Prophecy. Have you read that one, Heidi?
Okay, that's the second time it's come up this week. So, I've heard of it. I've heard of it, but I haven't read it directly. But I'm familiar with the concept, so I need to
Yeah.
get my hands on it.
Celestine Prophecy came out, I don't know, probably over 20 years ago, 25 years ago, by a guy named James Redfield. And it's cool. It starts as kind of an adventure. There's like this young man who goes on a trip. He's not sure what he wants to do with his life, and all these kind of synchronicities and spirit-led things happen, and he ends up on a plane heading to Peru, talking to a priest about different things. And basically, they're on this chase for these manuscripts, which are kind of like the secrets to the universe. It takes place in a very fictional setting. However, a lot of the concepts are very realistic. And there's one part of it where it talks about, energies and control mechanisms, and it really highlights the concept of attachment and unattachment, and I absolutely love it. And it's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful journey. Every time you read it, it always plants new seeds of light or perspectives or information, and it's enjoyable and exciting, and it's an adventure, so it's got the ups and the downs, and but it's a really great story and well written. So yes, I encourage you to read that. I encourage our listeners to read that, because it just helps you to elevate your senses and look at things in a different perspective. Shifting perceptions and perspectives is really what miracles are.
That's so true. That's beautiful.
Yeah, and here on Moon Magic, when I'm talking about leaving a relationship right now, and we're talking about, unattached and attached and commitments and stuff, it's hard. The women who came before us, we're just starting to break the molds, and, our generation really tore off all the Band-Aids, and we've got, all different types of relationships out there now. Even when I was younger, it was still, I'm 33 now, and when I was like, younger, I guess probably in elementary school or a teenager, it was still taboo if a girl lived with her boyfriend unmarried. And now in the past 20 years, unmarried couples have been living together left and right. Some of that's because of the cost of living. Some of that's because we don't care as much about religious conditioning. But there's this inner sense, especially within women, that gets passed down, that if you're in a relationship, you have to do everything you can and more to make it work, as opposed to listening to our own intuition and our womb space and saying, no, you know what, this relationship, it was wonderful while it lasted, but it's no longer serving me, and I'm ready for something new and different. And I think it's exciting that we, in our generation, kind of get to be the pioneers of listening to our intuition again, and especially when it comes to relationships and attachment, and sometimes forced attachment out of societal conditionings or your own interpersonal thoughts and beliefs as to making things work. Many of our parents and grandparents made things work for far too long, and then it caused trauma within their own lives and their children's lives and others' lives. Whereas if we were just tuning back in with our own wisdom and our own soul's path and our own womb space telling us what's right for us and what's not, the world will be able to harmonize in a different way. So moral of that story, relationships are hard, and if you feel like you're ready to leave a situation, that's okay, despite what your parents or grandparents or anybody else might think. It's important to tune back in on what you feel is best for you, because when you do that, then the universe will just start unfolding and align right behind you, and everything will be made a lot easier for you if you're able to be brave enough to listen to it.
Beautiful. And just to tack on to what you're saying, Mandee, because it's all relevant and so beautiful, I will say that relationships can be very difficult, but when it starts to feel like you're fighting yourself, when it starts to feel like it's misaligned internally, just to reiterate what you're saying, that's when you might know that something needs to shift in your external and with your commitments. But you can have difficulty in relationships, is what I'm finding right now, is that you can have difficulty without creating drama, trauma, without it feeling really painful. And 9 out of 10 times it's going to be communication. so allowing yourself to tune into, are we working together here? Are we moving forward together here? Or does it not feel aligned to work together and move forward together? Or is one person, does it feel like I'm giving too much and they're not contributing, or vice versa? And just allowing yourself to tap into that inner wisdom, because you will know the difference.
It is the truth. That feels good. Is there anything else you want to chat about on our show today, Heidi?
That feels good for today. We had a lot of juicy conversation, of course, per usual.
Per usual. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to Womb Magic. You can follow us on Facebook on Womb Magic Movement. You can follow Heidi Summers individually, or myself, Mandee Elam. We love to play and communicate and talk. If there's anything that you want us to talk about, send us a message. If you want to be a guest on our show and say, hey, I do this cool thing, or I have this knowledge and I want to come and share it with you all, let us know. Heidi and I have been doing this. This is now our 9th episode, and it's been absolutely wonderful. And we're just excited to grow our community. So thank you for following us here on Heart Over Ego Radio. Heart Over Ego Radio will be having 7 shows coming up soon here, 1 for each day of the week. Right now, we still have the Alchemy Sisters on Monday. We'll be introducing Radical Spirituality on Tuesday. On Wednesdays, we already have Rain Radio up and running, which is beautiful. Thursdays, I forget, but we'll be having some. June Love will be coming on and doing Transcending Love with June Love. We've got Heidi and I here on Fridays for Womb Magic. Saturdays, we're going to be having a new show called Knowing the Soul. And then already on Sundays, we have Everyday Psychic with Jenny and Drew. So please join us. Please follow us. Please interact with us. Womb Magic is Womb Magic Movement on Facebook. And then we also have Heart Over Ego Radio. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing Soul Space with me and our listeners today and every episode of Womb Magic.
Thank you, Mandee. Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.